Well, how are we doing today, folks? Doc Fabiano here, author of The Endangered Salesperson's Path to Longevity. And today I am here to talk to you about getting into sales. A good first step. So it's to be or not to be in sales. Now, let's just assume it's Sunday night and you have recently graduated from college and you have got your resume out to a whole bunch of places, and you're concerned because you can't really find that many available positions or jobs. But all of a sudden you get a response from some company looking for a salesperson, and you got to think to yourself, this could be pretty good. I might be able to make some decent money doing this. So you're going to give that some thought. But also let's think about the fact that you've been in a sales job for a while, and things are not exactly going the way you want. Maybe you're struggling a little bit, you're not driving the car you want to drive, you're not living where you want to live, and somehow you don't feel the satisfaction you were hoping to get out of your life. What are we going to do? So there are a variety of different things to do, but you need to consider what you need first and then compare it to what that sales job is going to request of you. But before you even begin that, I want to give you some things to put in the back of your mind. Based on recent studies, 55% of salespeople today should not be in sales. It's a big number. And again, 64% of people that are in sales today are in the wrong sales job. Certainly that can take away a lot of joy every day. So here it is, Sunday night, you're looking at a whole week. What do I want to do? Where do I want to go? How do I want to do this? It is my advice that you begin with an inventory. And one side of the inventory is your monthly expenses. Your monthly household expenses, every dime you put out every month on a regular basis. And you need to be painfully honest with yourself about that. Write down your walking around money, your disposable income money that you like to keep, as well as all of the utilities, the mortgage, the insurances, the parking, the communications, the internet, phone, all of that stuff. You need to put that together. And you need to come up with a sum total, okay? That's what you need. All right, now you may want to put more in there and say that's what I want. But the question is now, how do I get to that? Real simple, actually. If you got an Excel program, you can whip up a spreadsheet and you can come up with something like this. You can see it, I hope. All right, is the job going to pay me for what I need? Well, we look at it here. What's the monthly quota going to be for this job? $40,000 I've indicated here. What's the commission on that $40,000? Let's say it's 3.5%. All right, so my commission at quota, my income when I make my quota is $1,400. But I also get a $1,500 a month salary, which isn't so bad. Now, I go on and I talk to people and I try and find things out and I do my homework and I come to the conclusion that the average contract value is $4,000. Okay? So on average, every contract you bring in is $4,000 towards your quota. So it's pretty simple. How many contracts do I need to bring in then, right? 10. Now the next indication here, the next metric is a little bit tricky if you haven't been in sales before. But if you can talk to somebody there and get an understanding as to how it's going and where it's at, or you can look at a national average, which is 25% a closing ratio. In other words, you will close 1 out of 4 proposals, okay? Which is generally pretty safe to assume. Now, if your closing ratio is 1 out of 4, and I need 10 contracts to meet my quota, then I've got to put together 40 proposals in a month. I've got to get out 40 qualified proposals in a month. And let's say you find out that from beginning to end, from start of the proposal to the sign of the contract, it takes a week, all right? It takes 1 week to do that, to bring a proposal to closure. That is to say, either you get the contract or you don't. But it takes a week to do that. Now, that means that if you can carry, let's say, 10 proposals a week. All right? So, you've got to look at that, and 4 weeks there in the month, okay, well, I've got 40 proposals out. All right? So based on my closing ratio, based on having 40 proposals out during a month, then the odds are in my favor. I'm going to close 25%, or basically I'm going to come back with 10 contracts a month at $4,000 apiece. And lo and behold, wow, I have made my quota. Isn't that great? All right? So if you make your quota with your salary, what are we looking at here? We're looking at $2,900 is my monthly income. Not much. But now what you need to do is you need to take the sum of your personal inventory, all of your expenses per month, all your expenses, including your walking around money, your disposable income, the things that you're saving for, the $200 a month you're putting away for the boat, vacation or whatever. Put that here. Now you need to add that in here. And then you need to calculate the delta. I think it's pretty safe to assume that most of you are going to need more than $2,900 a month, based on this example, to get along. So now you need to subtract that. And you need to figure out, okay, what do I need to do? But before we go any further, let me advise you of something that you don't normally hear, okay? We talk about proposals required, 40, okay? That does not mean that that is the number of appointments that you have to get, all right? You need to put in your pipeline a lot more than that, because just because you have an appointment with a client does not mean that it's going to end up as a proposal. Not all of them are going to be qualified. And since sales is not a 9-to-5 job, and time to you is a precious commodity, you have to learn real quick what makes somebody qualified and what does not. And when you find that somebody is not, thank you very much. I'll see you later. You're out the door as politely as possible to find another one. Okay? That's important. So just because I got 40 proposals here does not mean that once I get to 40 appointments, I get to stop. No. 40 appointments does not necessarily mean that I have 40 proposals. Okay? It may mean that you certainly mean that you're going to have less than that. So now I got to figure out, how am I going to get my income up based on the information I have here? Well, there's a number of things that you can do. You can do what you can to abbreviate the sales cycle. Can you make it shorter? Can you contract that time, okay, to perhaps by half? The other thing, obvious thing is to do here is can I improve my closing ratio? And when you do this, ratchet it up in increments of 5%. What happens if I improve my closing ratio to 30%, 35%? Keep on going and doing that and see what's going on. I have a proposal load per week of 10. All right, let me see if I can get more of that. What happens if you make that 15? Where does it go from there? All right. And then the other thing you can look at is, how do I get the average contract value higher? Can I sell more than the average contract says we are doing right now? Now, folks, this is a simple Excel program. And if you look at it, you can easily understand. They'll all be interrelated no matter what you put in here. The two numbers, well, commission and quota and salary basically is a sum. Commission is a multiplication. And then down from here, contracts, a quota, closing ratio, and so forth, blah, 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 blah. You end up with a simple way to do this. I exhort you to do this, whether you're just getting started and you're not happy, or whether you're thinking about getting started, because you need to know where you're going to go, okay? My book is called A Path to Longevity, not a guide. You have to follow a guide, but you get to choose a path. This gives you an opportunity to make some choices, something that we all have precious little of these days. So you want to make a choice, and you got to make a hard choice because this is going to be your livelihood. Can I do this? Does this make sense that I can accomplish this within the changes that I have made? The people that I knew over the years that were the top performers always knew what was required of them. How many contracts, how much volume per contract, what their closing ratio was, how many opportunities, deals did they have to have going in what's called a pipeline at any given time, all right? And they kept track of this, and they kept on looking at it. And they also realized, wait a minute, my sales are going down. What is the issue? Am I getting lazy? Is it taking me longer to complete one? Or am I forgetting something, and is my closing ratio going down? And when they would see things like that, they would bear down. They would look for more education. They would evaluate what they're doing. They would discuss it with their peers. But they would get down on it and work on it, and that's why they stayed top performers. If you're going into a sales job cold, and you haven't done an inventory like this, you're going to doom yourself to disappointment from the very beginning. Because I will tell you this, fellow babies, don't believe everything you hear at the interview. Absolutely not. Okay? Because it's going to take you more than a week to crank up and get going. Okay? Nobody starts a new job and produces at target right away. It's going to take you a while to figure things out. It's going to take you a while to come and understand how things work. Now, the internet here can be your friend. You want to get on the internet, you want to check out these companies, you want to see what's going on with them, you want to look at their Dun & Bradstreet rating, Better Business Bureau. You'll also find on the internet sites that will allow you to see information, reviews by employees of this company. They're very good things to look at. You're also going to want to see if you can find anybody, run into anybody that actually works there and get to know them, all right? The higher up the food chain you go, perhaps the better. You're going to get better information. But the main thing is do your homework, starting with this. Then, from there, okay, is this where I want to work? Is this what I want to do? Sales is not something that you can just slide right in and do. I mean, you can't go into an interview and say, well, I'm a people person, so that's going to be okay. I got it knocked. No, that doesn't have it knocked. Sales is a craft. It becomes an acquired skill. The top performers have taken that skill and honed it to a fine, fine edge. And that's something that takes time for you to learn, all right? But there are some things here in sales, all right? Now, you need to understand organization and planning. You need to be a good organizer. You need to understand planning. And it really makes a lot of sense for you to be an effective goal setter, okay? The other thing is that you need to accept rejection gracefully. You need to be able to accept that. It's not personal. Don't take it personal. If you take it personal, you're going to spend most of your time crying. Because most of what you put out there, you're not going to get. Okay? Obviously, if you have a closing ratio of 25%, that means that 75% of the business I'm not getting. So you need to understand that. You need to get used to it. You need not to worry about it. Okay? Now, the other thing is that you have to be confident in yourself. Sounds like it's something simple, isn't it? Well, I'm here to tell you it's not. All right? You've got to take a hard, cold look at your ability. Are you somebody that when you set your mind to something, it will get accomplished? It will get accomplished within the frame that you're thinking of? Great. Are you somebody when you set your mind to it, and you get started and you fall down and you say, all right, the heck with it, I wasn't made to do that, don't go into sales. But if you're one of those people that falls down, looks at it, gets up and learns why you fell down, and gets right back up to it and goes, and then continues to learn, then you find a position for yourself in sales. Okay? The other thing is that you have to have no fear. In other words, I don't want to say that you're bold to the point where you're going to insult somebody, but you have to be courageous. You have to have no fear. It goes with being confident. And I will tell you this, after all of the years and all the people I've talked to and worked with and so forth, nobody out there is going to buy from someone that does not appear confident. Okay? Nobody's going to buy from somebody that is nervous. I can tell you this, we used to joke about it years ago, but prospects can be a lot like bears and dogs. They can smell fear. They know when you are frightened or when you're not confident, and they're not going to want to do business with you. Studies show that confidence is a big issue when it comes to buying. Now, as you do that, the other thing is you've got to make sure, you've got to ask yourself, hard question answered, are you sensible? Are you logical? And are you mature? Right? Because if you have the capability of those things, you should be able to adopt the situation that you're in. Okay? You have an opportunity with a prospect, with a gentleman that, let's say, before he got this job, was a colonel in the Marines for 25 years. This guy is not going to joke around. Okay? This guy is going to be deadly serious. This guy is not going to want his time wasted. Will you be able to step up to that and demonstrate to him that you have those capabilities in your personality? I'm not saying that you have to become that guy, but you need to demonstrate that, hey, I can meet you there. You know, I understand where you're coming from. I respect that. All right? So with that in mind, I would like to understand, how would you like me to proceed? Which underlines something you should all start doing. Question. Don't be afraid to question your prospects. Okay? Now, something else that you need to understand is, and this is a problem with a lot of salespeople, you have to be a good listener. Good sales is 75 to 95% listening. You hear what they're saying, okay? And there are different types of listening. There's active listening, when somebody says something and you, okay, yeah, I got that. There's another type of listening, which is a lot more elegant, which is you make sure that your prospect sees that you are taking notes, okay? That is an excellent way to show your prospect that you're interested, that you're paying attention. And it doesn't hurt every so often to go back and review them and say, okay, do I have this right? Is that correct? You said this. Yes. What does that mean, this? All right. Being a good listener tells your prospect that you are genuinely concerned and interested in his situation. All right. You are not there to hustle him down to a contract just to get your commission. No, you want to do that, because remember, sales is not a battle. It's not an athletic competition. That means a winner and a loser, all right? You want to see your prospect and your potential client as a loser for the rest of your relationship? No. It's a collaboration, and that collaboration starts from day one, and we will talk more about that in future blogs, okay? So, you want to be able to make a good first impression. You need to be a good conversationalist, all right? Now, we've talked about the personal inventory, and it's hard. You need to do that twice. I would recommend going through your checkbook and your credit card statements to find out what's there. Get it right the first time. Because if you don't get it right the first time, there's always going to be time to get it right the second time, and chances are you won't have that time. So, if I impart anything on you today, it's be logical. Make some sense out of it. Is this position going to give me the opportunities to not only meet my monthly expenses, but to exceed my monthly expenses. All right? Things are not the same as they were. Okay? And a lot of people take shots at the millennials, and quite frankly, I kind of take umbrage of that, because the millennials were probably the first generation that came to realize that it isn't that the system is rigged, it's that rigged is the system. Okay? But nobody is going to promote you or notice you simply for doing your job. You have to exceed. And that's a value add, and we're going to talk more about that in future logs. Okay? What I want you to do is think. Does this make sense? Cover your bases. Think it through. Plan. Okay? And the last thing I want you to keep in mind is that the sales mantra, as we use it in the Endangered Salesperson's Path to Longevity, is question, listen, keep it simple, and make it yours. And again, we'll be repeating that. So I want to thank you for your kind attention. And should you have any questions, go to my website, www.endangeredsalespeople.com. There's a comment section. There's a way to get a hold of me there and send them out to me. I'd love to hear from you. I'd be more than happy to offer some advice. Okay? Now, you have a fine day, and think about what I said.